Hi, my name is Ray and welcome to my video coaching newsletter. So the title of this newsletter is How to Help Students with Learning Differences, or for those who don't like to do the work. Okay, so I'm going to read the newsletter and then I'm going to give you some little bits and pieces as to my thoughts around the newsletter. So last week I had the pleasure of doing a one-to-one coaching session with Donald. Well, Donald wasn't his real name, that's his pseudonym. So Donald is 16 years old and is doing his Leaving Cert this year. He is quite young and his mom told me he's a little bit immature, but from an intellectual level, he's very capable. He also has a learning difference called dyspraxia. Now, coming in the door, I never would have known that he had any form of learning difference. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, dyspraxia is a developmental disorder causing difficulty in activities requiring coordination and movement. So that's the Oxford Dictionary definition. Other people refer to this as clumsy child syndrome. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's a horrible label. So let's look at why we attach labels to children. So nowadays, there seems to be a desire to label or diagnose children to explain away their behavior. So there's so much today around different types of label, and everybody seems to have some sort of diagnosis or ism or condition. So I regularly get calls to my practice from parents of teenagers with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, ADHD, and dyspraxia, to name a few. I've had every type of student, the high achievers, the ones with learning differences, the ones who are not motivated. So every type of student has come into my practice. Getting a diagnosis can seem like a relief, and it has its advantages, but there are also disadvantages. Children can obviously get support in school, but then the label can negatively affect their self-image and identity. So I've seen people scarred for life because of a label. According to Kate Benson, in her excellent book, Teaching Excellence, the problem of using such expressions such as learning difficulties or disabilities puts a limitation on the learner. Language is so important, and when you hear someone described as having a learning disability, that can really have a big impact on someone. So she advocated the use of the expression learning differences. So that's a much better expression, and says these differences should be celebrated. Well, I just love that. What a different way of looking at things. She goes on to say that the problem is not a learning difficulty, but a teaching difficulty. What a shift. Problem is not the learner, it's how we teach the learner. This is really important to note. We must remember every person learns and processes in a different way. So you learn very differently to your son or to your daughter or to your husband or partner or wife or whoever. Everybody learns differently. A big feature of my coaching is what I call the hook point. So this is a really important part. The first 20 minutes of my study skills coaching sessions, the one-to-one study boost, this is really where I get to find out and get into a student's under the bonnet, as they say. This is where I uncover the learning difficulty or blocking point for each student. Whether you have a learning difference or not, most students have a blocking point. So everybody has something that's stopping them from achieving or learning or getting on. That's what I found, every person. So for me, when I think back, I really struggled with maths and accounting. I was very motivated. But probably my blocking point or the issue I was having was I had a really negative association with subjects like accounting, and I really struggled. So I'll talk about that in future posts. Sometimes this can be as simple as them telling me I don't know how to study. Or I find school and study boring. So I had a second year in here 2 weeks ago, and he said, school's boring, study is boring. So that's a big blocking point for him. So my curiosity revolves around what I call this point of resistance. Why is it boring? Why do you not want to do the work? That's really critical. Donald told me, I don't like to do the work. He acknowledged that his work ethic was poor. So, I mean, this guy had so much character and personality, but he said to me, look, I just don't like to work. It's not my thing. I asked him what did he like to do. This is where it got really interesting. He said play Battleship. Turns out he loves to play Battleship online, and he described these huge, mega, how would I describe, these epic games of Battleship that could last for days, and he'd spend hours, and he could go away from the game, come back from the game. But when I did ask him what did he love about this game of Battleship, he said to me he loved to play Battleship because it's a strategy game. So what I did then was we turned the Leaving Cert into one big game of strategy. And now instead of thinking about it as studying, he's now thinking the Leaving Cert as strategy. That's the hook point. Do you get what I mean? It's a totally different way of thinking about things. Now, I love learning and I love coaching. The key is to meet students where they are at, to focus on their strengths. This is critical. Labels have their advantages, but they also have their disadvantages. For me, it's about their strengths. We got to celebrate, as Kate Benson would say, we got to celebrate the learning differences. We got to celebrate their strengths. For you as parents, my advice is to focus on their strengths. This is how you help every type of student. This is how you help every type of learner, whether they have learning differences or not. This is how you're going to help them achieve their potential. So, if you like this video, click a like. If you want my coaching, go to the coaching section on my website. And remember guys, day by day, we are raising the game.